All right, welcome to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today we have a special guest, Mark Olateju. Mark, how are you?
I'm good. You nailed it, by the way. You got it.
So during the pre-show, we can call it a pre-show, I was asking Mark, how do you say your last name? And he told me a couple times, and I tried it, and generally we call Mark Marco. He didn't know that, but that's pretty much what we call him because nobody knows how to say his last name. But how
Yeah,
are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome.
Good, man. So, you've been around the running community way longer than I have, especially here in Dallas. I've known you or at least seen you around the lake in my first years of, I think back in 2013, 14, when I started running. You're also known as the picture guy. You take a lot of pictures of people, post them on Facebook, tag them. You know, I appreciate that most of the time until I see some, I'm like, oh my gosh, what did you just take a video of me? You've been around for a long time and you've run a lot. And I would love to hear your story. You've been very much of a positive influence in the running community. And I know others want to hear it. I know I do. So I was excited to get you on. First of all, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Of
So,
course.
so do I start from the beginning?
Yeah, let's just kind of start from when you started running. What kind of got you interested in the running piece of it?
When I think of road races, I was working at a school called Travis on McKinney, and the principal wanted the staff to run a particular race. It was like a 8K, strange race distance, something like an 8K. And she said she was going to open up the building, and whoever ran it was going to get free breakfast. That she was going to cook it like from scratch. And I'm like, oh, bet. And that was my first road race ever.
And
For the
8K, I
food.
mean, that's pretty long.
And they don't even have it anymore. It literally went right by the school on McKinney, you know.
Okay.
So
How long ago was that?
was in, oh, wow. Probably, well, so now you got me thinking. 2005,
Okay.
2004, 2005. Yeah.
This is your first time into running?
First time doing a race.
Okay. Doing a
Uh,
race.
I would say yes, first time running, because prior to that, I was only running on a treadmill.
Were you working out and stuff like that? Were you in sports and like back when you were a kid and stuff like that? Or
Yeah, I've been active my whole life. Basketball, handball, actually European handball, which is like a cross between field hockey, soccer, and basketball.
I've heard of it, and I think I've seen it on TV once or twice, but I don't
It
know
is an
much about it.
Olympic sport. Yeah, it is an Olympic sport.
That's cool. So you must have really liked it because I know just from your history, you've run a lot. So what happened? How'd you just start getting into running more often in races and things like that?
When I first started running, I was running, teaching, and finishing grad school. Once
Mhm.
I finished grad school, I told myself, hey, I'm going to be totally dedicated to running.
Well,
And so the running took off from there.
where'd you get your master's?
Where or in
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, and what? And where and what?
I got my master's in curriculum and instruction from Texas A&M
Okay.
Commerce. Yeah.
Okay. That's
That
impressive.
that itself was a journey. That took me like 8 or 9 years because I started, I stopped, I picked it up again, and I started losing credits. So yeah, I'm glad I got that over with.
That sounds like my bachelor's degrees. Anyways,
Got it.
I was 37 whenever I got my bachelor's degrees. That's another story. So, all right, you got into running a little bit after grad school. You got more into it. Did you run like a half marathon or anything before during grad school or?
I would say I was a 5K expert for the
Wow.
longest, and then my wife at the time told me I was running 5Ks, and then I just decided to run like the DRC half. And my wife at the time said something like, you can't run a half. I probably told her like 2 or 3 weeks before the run. She said, people train for months for this. You had to come up with a plan and a program and put in the work. And I said, I'm going to run a half. And she said, but you can't run a half. Needless to say, I ran the half. And I probably ran maybe a I don't know, maybe 148, 149 basketball shorts and do-rag and some basketball sneakers or something like that. And she said, I can't believe you finished the half with no training. I said, well, ignorance is bliss sometimes. There were no
Uh,
preconceived notions. I just went out and ran. No expectations, no time goals, just ran it.
yeah. How would you know what time you were going to get anyways? Did you feel like crap afterwards? Did you like, oh my God, I got to
No, I felt
train next
okay.
time? Really?
I felt okay. Yeah,
That's
I
great.
felt okay.
My first half, I ran the same time. It was about a 147. I did a little trick. So that's so interesting. I think maybe we have some of the same abilities back then. I don't know. So you did that half, and then what was next? What was you were dedicated? That was during college, right? Grad school.
What?
Was that during
No,
grad
no,
school?
that was after
Okay,
grad school.
got it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what happened after that? Like you just got big time into it, or?
I became that half. It was probably some time before I did another half. I was really like a 5K expert because I could run those every week. And then it's funny how I'm looked at as an OG because to me, the OGs are like James Thruston, Francis McKissick, Linda Kelly. And so I would run these races, these 5Ks, and I would always see the same people. And then maybe I'll do a 10K, 15K, it'll be Francis, it'll be Linda. So Francis really stuck in my mind because I'll be doing a 15K, I'll take off, I'll be ahead of her for 6, 7 miles. And then she would just pick me off because she negative split. I was a positive split runner. And so maybe one time I was probably complaining to Linda or Francis. I said, why complaining to Linda about Francis? I said, why does Francis always get me late in the race? And then there were some guys that always beat me in a 5K. John, I can't remember his name now. John is like in his 70s, early 80s. He would always get me in a 5K towards the end. And then Linda said, you got to train, Mark. You got to hit the track. You got to do speed work. I'm like, what? She said, yeah, that's how you get faster. And so there was a guy named Chris Phelan that would have speed work Wednesday evenings, year round. It was right across from the street that I worked in.
Wow.
In fact, it was our field. It was Franklin Field. It was on the Hillcrest side. And so I'm like, I don't even have to go out of my way. After work, I can literally just stay a bit later and just walk there and start doing speed work. And then the rest of this time started dropping. Yeah. I started beating these people. They weren't catching up with me, even though it still took me about 6 or 7 years to actually beat France, at least in the distance one. Yeah. And
I still see them all the time, actually.
Yeah. Either at that lake, or she also does. She's been running at Bachman for at least 30 years. Yeah, she loops Bachman, not just White Rock.
When I've been doing those Bachman 5Ks over the summer, the first time, of course, they're all there. They're the ones that put up this 5K thing on Wednesday nights.
Yes.
And
yes.
they've been doing it for years and years. And so it's pretty cool.
Yes, they have.
It's pretty awesome.
It is really cool.
Literally, there's 100+ people there every time. You can go every week and it's free. It's pretty cool. Anyways, that's a side note, but I love it.
I believe if you do 7 races, you get a T-shirt. You do 9, you get your name engraved on a plaque with your fastest time. I've done it a few times.
That's pretty fun. I like it. I took my kids out. Or I took Tegan out and his cousin a couple of times over the summer. They loved it. They were like, wanting to go more. So okay, we can go anytime, but all right. You get faster, and then eventually you started kind of getting into the marathons. What went on there? What was your thinking?
The marathons were still
not
a little way off because then the coach, he reached out to me one time, either sent me a message or called me, and he said, because I was racing every week. Like I said, I was like a 5K expert. I do 5Ks, 10Ks, still keeping it short. And he said something like, he was training people on the side. And he said, he tells people, you train hard and you do a goal race, maybe 2 halves a year or maybe 3 5Ks, but spread them out. And he said some of the people he was training were complaining that I was racing every weekend and PRing. So he was saying that contradicts what you're saying, coach. You're saying spend several months to train for a goal race. Marco was PRing every week. So I don't know if he was trying to tell me to cut down or race less. I said, let me tell you something. You're doing what you do as a coach, and I'm doing what I do because I like to run. So I said, I don't care what you're doing about your coaching, but I'm not going to cut back because it's making your words of wisdom uncomfortable or whatever. I said, no, you do you, I do me. Let's keep it moving.
Do you think that's what he was thinking, or do you think he was just trying to help you?
Trying to help who?
Do you think that's what he was thinking? Like, hey, he's contradicting my words of wisdom, or do you think he was just trying to help you?
Help me what?
Just get better. I don't know. Maybe he thought he was helping you.
My goal was just to run. I didn't have any specific, if I PR'd, fine, but if I didn't, that was fine too. I was not running to PR. I was racing because I actually enjoyed it. Yeah. And so there was no goal race for me. If I PR'd, fine. Of course, after a while, the PR stopped. That didn't stop me from running. In fact, my first 10 years, I think I averaged about 50 races a year. Because on Athlinks, I believe I have about 640 races total. So I was not racing for a specific time goal. If they came, fine. But I was actually racing because I like to run. So
that's pretty interesting.
We talked about the marathon, and I could tell you exactly how I slipped into that one. I was a DRC pace leader, probably for the 135 half. And I was with Jose Lopez's group. Now, the 135 half, and I think the 335 or 340 full, they trained together. They were maybe 6 guys. We were all males, by the way. There was no females with us. There were 6 guys maybe for the 335 full or 330 full. I was the only one for the 140 half. Nobody came for the 140 half. So after doing, and initially we do the same distances. So after a couple of weeks, when I didn't have anybody, I said, you know what? I might as well just train for a full.
Jeez.
And that's how I trained for my first full, accidentally.
Wow.
Because I always told people I would never do a full. I never
So like
planned to do a full.
I've done 3 and I've decided for the last 10 years, 10 years ago, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to do this again. Leah was like, you're always mad after these really long runs, after 20 miles or 17 miles. And she said, you don't have to run full marathons. She goes,
Correct.
just do whatever you want. Nobody cares. It just, and I said, that's a good idea. So I haven't run a full officially since. But let's go back because I'm interested. Like, how did you start thinking about getting into even a half marathon training? Because before you weren't really running with a group, right? Like a community of people like DRC or whatever.
I would say my first running partner was my lab. I had a golden lab. And I didn't start running with people till I had to give my dog to another owner. That's when the people came in. And yeah, DRC, the track were, gosh, I've had so many journeys running with people. I remember really, I started getting into distance running consistently when I was training with Shaheen
Okay.
Sitar.
Yeah.
And I started running with her because at that time she was recovering. She actually got hit by a car and she was recovering. And I remember maybe 3 months after she got hit by a car, she had a broken rib and some other injuries. She still ran like a 2-hour half. And I'm like, how? How were you even walking? So I just wanted to know more about her and that story. And then boom, that's how my consistent distance training started because we used to run at 4 a.m. So I'm getting up at 3 and we're doing distance every time. And we probably start off at 10-minute miles, but somewhere in there, we drop to 8s and sub-8s because she also is a negative split runner. But I remember telling her, I said, I train hard and race easy because she was asking me, how do you race so much? I said, racing is easier than run with you. I said, the racing was the relaxing part after running with her at 4 a.m. Shoot, I think we were doing it probably 3 days a week. And we did it for many years at that. But training with her made all the distance running. At one point, I could do like I was doing a 130 or 135 half consistently, between 130 and 130 consistently, just with the base that I had. So I stayed half ready, just doing all those miles with her early in the morning.
You started to really enjoy running the long runs. Was it like, okay, this is fun, I enjoy it, that kind of stuff? Or did you kind of struggle with the
You have to
enjoyment of it?
define long runs because our runs were anywhere from, I would say,
Well,
7 to maybe 10 miles. I was not
yeah,
doing 15, 20.
yeah.
I was not doing that. So I
But
did
to me,
enjoy 6 to 10
long runs
miles.
is
Yes.
7 to 10. I like that too. Like I'm not a big, I even to this day, like I can probably go run 13 to 15, but in general, I run 10 to 11 miles is my long run right now. And it's been for a long time or for a while. I guess to me, running long, this could be 7 to 10 miles. For you, you're just running 5Ks before. Now you're running 7 to 10 miles at that time. But it sounds like it was fun because you're running with a friend.
I like the company. And of course, you would solve all the world's issues as we ran,
Yeah,
as runners do.
that's right.
But yeah, that made a lot of the races easy because, like I said, I stayed half ready. It's probably doing maybe 40, 45 miles a week
Yeah.
for
Okay.
many years.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good number.
Yes. And yes, I would run with groups on the weekends, but really most of my running, the training part was just with 1 or 2 people. After Shaheen, I started running with Susanna in Allen. So I ran with her for several years as well. Also
How,
at 4 a.m.
yeah.
I was still waking up at 3. I don't know how I did it. I must have run at 3 a.m. for at least a decade between those 2 ladies. And I don't know how I did it. I can't even get up at 3 a.m. I talk about running,
That's rough, man. That's rough.
that time. Yeah.
But you do it. You just make yourself do it, and eventually, I would say you get used to it. 3 in the morning is still really early. That's no matter what. How many times you've done it. And you're running with Susanna now, and then I think she's still running. I've ran a couple of. I've paced with her quite a bit in the past. I mean, I've paced with you a couple of times. Mostly the 150 is usually what I pace. You do. Oh,
Got it.
all right, let's get to your marathons. So you're running with DRC. Decided to run your first marathon. Which one was it?
It was a Dallas marathon.
Okay.
But getting back to that marathon, by the way.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks before the marathon, there's a race in Fort Worth called the Fort Worth Marathon, not affiliated with Cowtown, the one in November.
Yeah.
And I think I had missed the final 20 miler with DRC. And I needed one more 20 miler, and Fort Worth had a 20 mile. So they had a half,
that's right.
a 20 miler, And I think for what I was supposed to run, I think I need to keep like a 7:25 or 7:30 pace. So I'm going this 20 miler and I'm thinking of keeping race pace, but I'm thinking, who cares? I'm just going to do what the body does. And so I ended up running like a 7 flat for 20 miles. And I even won masters at that 20 miler. So I'm thinking, you know what? When the marathon comes around, forget all the race pace we did during training. I'm just going to run. And of course, I'm never going to do a marathon again. That was my mindset. So I'm going to put everything in this marathon because I'm going to do one marathon and I'll never run it again. So I'm running this marathon and my friends are out there. Heena's out there sharing her boyfriend, now her husband, Steve Henderson. And Steve was ahead of me for most of this race. But towards the end, I forgot what mile I passed him, had to be in the 20. So they're cheering people coming through and I go right by her and she just looks at me. No cheering, no good job. This is by the finish line. So later on, I'm like, Shaheen, I'm your training partner. I come through the shoot and you don't even say anything. She said, we didn't think you were going to come through that soon. We were in shock because I ran like a 3:08:59, something like that.
No way.
You know,
Your first one?
yeah, first one because I was never going to do it again. Remember? So every time I was hurting, I'm like, it's okay because I'm not doing this again.
Yeah, but still, your
So I'm
first
like,
one, that's pretty amazing. And you weren't
I
even wearing
guess
super shoes back then. Think about it.
I was
It
wearing
wasn't
what?
super shoes. I said they didn't even have super shoes back then.
Oh, super shoes.
Yeah.
No, there were no super shoes.
No,
Yeah.
that's amazing, dude. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I told myself I was done with marathons. So then I went to the trail world and I started doing 50Ks instead.
did you? I don't think I knew that for some reason. I didn't know
What
you were
was
a
that?
trail runner. I didn't know you were a trail runner.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Possum Kingdom, the one in Huntsville.
Oh yeah, Rocky Raccoon.
Rocky Raccoon, I did the 50 miler out there. But the 50Ks weren't so bad. But when I did that 50 miler, that's when I knew I hit my limit. As at mile 32, I was like, I was done. But a friend of mine, Byron Benoit, he said, you know what, you can do this. You can do this. So, and that one was such a difficult race because it was 3 loops to get the 50 mile.
Yeah.
And when you complete the loop, you're back at the start finish. You're back by your car. You're back by your supplies. So you could just say, you know what, I'm done. And so to go out another 2 times after that, that is really a mental beatdown. So
I remember.
yeah.
So Leah attempted the 100 miler out there, and she got through 75. But yeah, it is a mental beatdown, especially the last loop that we ran. I was running with her and she walked pretty much the whole loop. It literally took us 7 hours plus to do that one last loop. And she was like, yeah, I'm done. We got to one of the 8 stations. She's like, all right, we're done. But yeah, it is definitely a mental toughness there. What's your favorite?
Interesting facts. When I was doing that 50 miler, back then, the 50 mile and 100 mile were run on the same weekend. It wasn't separate like it is now. So I'm doing my 50 mile and I'm struggling, a lot of walking, a lot of cursing, holding ankles and all that. And Nicole is doing the 100. I don't even know how many times she lapped me. And that was the same time she set the national record for fastest 100. There were WRRC people pacing her, maybe Brett Woodle and gosh, I forgot who else. I don't know if the Pacers kept up with her. But
She's
I'm like,
fast, man.
she's running 100 significantly faster than I'm running the 50. But that was just interesting.
I think I remember when Nicole did that. And as a matter of fact, she's married to now a guy named Zach Bitter, which is also well known in the ultra industry. So he is awesome. Yeah, he's got a big time podcast and he's very well known in that space. Perfect matchup.
I would say so.
If you were to look at your favorite kind of racing distance when you look back, what would you think it is out of 5K, 10, marathon, half, etc.? Anything
When I was in shape and not hurting before I knew better, I would say half for sure. I've done a lot of halves. I've paced a lot of halves. The half.
Yeah. That's an easy one.
Towards the end, before I shut it down completely, 10K.
So you shut it down. So let's talk about that. When did you shut it down and what happened?
I shut it down probably 2.5 years ago. My body just broke down. I had to have a complete knee replacement. I put it off as long as I could, getting cortisone shots and gel shots and all that. But no, my time was up. Yeah, that's all she wrote.
What do you do now? I remember. All right. So also the other things that I remember is you were this buff dude running. Did you do a lot of working out, weights and stuff like that? Or do you do that now? Why are you always so buff?
I did a lot of weight. I did weights before I started running.
Okay.
So maybe that build was maybe some of the remnants of when I used to lift. I
Okay.
do lift again. I lift more than I run. I lift about 5 days a week.
Today,
I do
right
the
now.
elliptical and I do a stationary. Yeah, right now. And I do the stationary
Okay.
bike. I don't do any kind of aerobic activity that has impact. So non-impact, because I don't want the other knee to go out or hips, anything like that. So I do non-impact stuff. But yes, I'm back in the gym. During the times I was PRing and doing my fastest times, I had completely stopped gym work. And to me, if I look back, that was a mistake I made
Yeah.
because I didn't have the tone anymore. I didn't have the muscle. I see a lot of runners these days, they do the cross training, which I think is brilliant. You should still lift or ride a bike or swim. Do something else other than run. If all you do is run, most likely you're going to come up with some kind of overuse injury. Some of my healthiest friends that I know, they're triathletes because they're just doing the three disciplines. And so they're not overusing any, they don't suffer as many overuse injuries as the people that exclusively run.
Yeah, I think that's always good advice is cross training, doing something a little bit different than just running. It's hard though. If you're running for, I've talked to people on this podcast that are doing 100 miles a week during their peak kind of training, right? Like sometimes 110. And I was like, okay, it seems a little bit obsessive, but they die by it, right? Like this high mileage, they think. And if they are running 230s, 240s, fair enough. But I just wonder how long that will last. You know what I mean?
You hit the nail right on the head. What's your goal? If you want to continue running in your 70s and 80s, you have to do something different. But
Okay.
if you just want to maximize your prime years and peak, and you don't really care what's happening down the road, then hey, like when you look at professional athletes, they don't really focus on what's going to happen when they're 70 and 80. Now is the time, maximize their potential, maximize their sponsors, get their record, and then be done with it.
That's fair enough with the professional athletes, but most of us, even if you're running in the 230s or 40s for a marathon or really fast, you're still not an elite athlete. You're fast, you're not elite. And I think the other thing is that if you're in your 30s, you don't really know what you don't know. But you and I are old enough to kind of say, hey, look, you should kind of think about cross training or think about something different, not always running. But it's difficult because we don't, we're in our 30s, we don't think of what it's going to be like in our 50s. We don't give a shit. So,
I've been looking because I see the SMU Pony Girls at the lake on
yeah.
Sunday. And when I
Okay.
saw them a decade ago, maybe even 8 years ago, they were all lean, skinny, almost on the anorexic side.
Yeah.
I see them these days, I see muscle. So they're doing more than just running, even at the collegiate level. Those coaches are having their
For sure.
athletes lift now, and they're eating better and they're
Absolutely.
drinking.
You have way better coaching today because we know a lot more than we did 30 years ago. So that I agree with you. I think you are starting to see some. Think about if you're running 100 miles a week, you're probably not going to do a lot of lifting, most likely. I don't know, maybe, but that's to me kind of hard to think about to do if you have kids or if you have family and a job and all. When are you going to have time to do that? But what else? What have I missed? I'm sure I've missed a lot. Like I never asked you like what was your best marathon? Was it the 308 or did you do better than that ever?
Yeah, that was the best. Yeah.
Wow.
I ran probably 3 or 4 marathons after that because I wanted to hit a BQ time again. And
Yeah.
I know I had a BQ in Houston and I hit a BQ at a Mountain of Beach, which was in California.
Okay. Did you ever run Boston? Did
I
you?
did not. Okay.
Yeah.
Some of my friends are even trying to sign me up for that. Here's my problem with Boston. If running Boston is what makes me a quote unquote runner, then hell with it. I'm a runner because I run. I don't have to run Boston to be considered a runner. And so I just rebelled like that. No,
Hmm.
no, absolutely not.
I agree. I'm never going to run Boston because I don't want to run marathons. I like to go to Boston. Leah goes every year. So I love the atmosphere. I love watching my friends do it. I love watching her do it. It's her thing. But I don't care. I don't care because I'm
I
not going
did,
to.
did like the fact that I BQ 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then after a
Yeah.
while, I'm like, who cares? I BQ'd, okay.
What's your favorite race that you've ever done that you really liked? Maybe you did it several times.
I don't really look at races like that. I just like the fact that I'm out there to say favorite races. No,
No favorite race?
I've had I've had interesting races, but favorite? I
What's
can't
the
say I had a favorite one.
what's the most man?
There's the race I did. It was at the lake. I was trying to ask Linda Kelly about it, but she didn't remember. it was like a Twilight Zone race. We're running around the lake. It had to be like a 10K, 15K, something like that. It was not a half marathon. And we're running, and I see these runners ahead of me. And there was a patch. Maybe it could have been like 20 meters, 20, 30 meters. And these people are walking. And I'm not thinking anything of it. And then they start running again. And I think Linda was right next to me. We hit this same patch. We're walking, right? We're walking. We didn't even say, let's walk. We literally could not run. And then after we cleared that 20, 30 meter area, we started running again. And I'm looking at her. I'm like, what was that?
What just happened?
And we don't know. Yeah. And then I'm running and I look back and the runners that hit that same spot, they're walking.
No.
And that's why I'm saying that's like a Twilight Zone experience. Like, why did we walk during that stretch? And I've never experienced that before then or since. So that was my most interesting race.
Was it a nighttime run? Obviously, it was nighttime, right?
No, it was in the morning.
Oh, okay.
It was in the morning. Yeah.
That'd be even spookier if it was at night.
But if it was at night, I couldn't tell that the people ahead of me were walking or that the ones behind me were. I could clearly see them walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she doesn't remember it though when you ask her?
No, I brought it up maybe a few weeks ago and she didn't remember it. But I remember it like it was yesterday because I've never experienced that since.
That's weird. It was just a walking kind of Twilight Zone place. And by the way, that's probably dating you. So most of the people that listen to this, if they don't know what Twilight Zone is, it's just a show back in the day that was just spooky always. And it had this weird music to it every time.
I think they're in the process of rebooting it. But of course, many people think that's the original once they see it. But yeah, they're bringing it back with different notes. But yes.
Good. I like it.
You're right. They wouldn't know what Twilight Zone is.
But maybe not. But it's just kind of a spooky thing, kind of like Halloween.
No, it's funny. You asked me about, I don't have favorite races, but I have interesting events during a race. Like, for instance, there are people that I used to like just destroy running. Like they wouldn't even see my shadow. I was so far ahead. And then I'm running and then they're closing a gap and then we're going back and then they became significantly faster than me. So just seeing that transition. Because I remember Andy Wang, he does a lot of racing out in Fort Worth. When he first started running, he was like a triathlete. He didn't really take it seriously. He was significantly heavier than he was now. And I would finish a race, come and take pictures of Andy finishing. And then he locked in because he had a daughter that was old enough to do high school track. And he wanted to keep up with his daughter. And his daughter was quick. So he just transformed his whole diet, training, locked into running. And so Andy started to close the gap. And then at one point, I said, Andy, you got it. Anil? I used to be a lot faster than Anil. Anil, I just wave at him now. So to see people that I used to be faster than catch me and surpass me, I found that very interesting. And I have a lot of running friends. Once that happens to them, a lot of them, they're done. They stop running. If they couldn't meet the times they met in their prime, I think their egos can't deal with it. Me, I just looked at it like, it's a changing of the guard. It is what it is. I need to worry about me, not what they're doing, but what are my reasons for running?
Yeah, I love that. By the way, Andy Wang is now the race director at Fort Worth Marathon.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
But yeah, Andy Wang's great. And it is, I think it's fun to watch these. I remember like at DRC, I don't know if you remember Lexi, I forgot her last name. She was running with the 140 half and she's done really great things. But I knew like you could tell some of these runners that, you know, one, they just need confidence. That's one. Two is you need the experience of running and things like that. But I told her, I was like, man, you're an easily 130. If you ever care to get faster and that's your thing, which most of us do, you're easily going to be able to run a 130 or below because you could see some of the talent in some of these people. And she did eventually. She hit like a 125 one like a few years later. It takes one, it's a mindset, I think. Definitely you have to run and get in shape for it. If you're running with the 140, you never think you can hit a 135. Or if you're running with the 150, you never think you're going to hit 140 or whatever the things are. And you sound like you were never cared about the times. To me, like we talked during the pre-show, you go,
that's not entirely true. That's not. I did, but I did. There were times I did care about the times. But there's so many thoughts running through my head right now. I know Lexi well. We ran trails for years.
Okay.
Now we used to do trail running. I think it was every Sunday. It was Kyle Wills. There was Lexi, Paul, Matt. So I knew Lexi from trail running before she even started running those fast times. I didn't know her like DRC running, but I knew her from trail.
Yeah.
And it's funny because do you know Chantel?
Yeah. Very well.
I remember I used to be faster than Chantel. We're
I
doing this
know.
mountain to beat race,
Yeah.
and maybe we're on mile 23, something like that. It's the first time Chantel ever BQ. It was over a decade ago. So she
Yeah.
passes me, and mentally she's thinking, "Come on, Mark, what's wrong? You're faster." I said, "Chantel, you got me today. No excuses."
Yeah.
And there was also a too hot to handle 15K, and I'm running, and at maybe mile 6, 7, here comes Shaheen reeling me in. And she just, "Come on, Mark, are you hurt?" And she's just with her little girl voice, "Hey, Mark, are you hurt?" I said, that's all I could do to not cuss at her. I said, "Shaheen, you know I'm doing my best. You're just faster.
Yeah.
I'm not
Exactly.
injured. It's okay. You're just faster." And the funny thing is, she won that 15K. She was the first female that day. We did a double. That night, we went and did El Scorcho. And she was the second female in the 5K. So we did a double that day. And I'm like, I took a nap. I said, "Shaheen, did you sleep before the 11 p.m. race went?" No, I was too wired. I just stayed up. I'm thinking, how? That's a different story there.
Yeah. I love naps. So I would have taken a nap as well. That's a great story. Yeah, people just I think it's great to see people get better as they grow as a runner. People you'll see them for the first time just starting to run, and then you'll see them for in a couple of years, or you run with them for a couple of years, or they're at running in a group, and they just get better and better. And sometimes it's really remarkable. But I kind of going back to that confidence thing to me is the key at the end of the day is to really kind of if you want to get better, you just have to know that you can do a certain amount and you got to go try for it sometimes. Like you just did that 308, which you weren't thinking about a 308, which is crazy.
The funny
Pretty
thing with
awesome.
some of the ladies you mentioned, what's also awesome to me is how much faster they ran after having kids.
Yeah, yeah,
I saw Chantel. She has 3 kids. She has
that's
a
right.
set of twins in it. I saw
Yeah.
her win the Fort Worth, the Cowtown Marathon. I
Cowtown.
was just
Yeah,
taking pictures, and I saw her win that. And then within a year after that, I think she ran like a sub 3 full.
yeah,
And this is after having her kids. And I'm
yeah.
like, what?
No, she hit
Yeah.
250s.
So,
I had her on the podcast actually, and we talked about that.
oh,
Those
okay.
two things. Yeah. So
But
I'm gonna. I think she's done amazing things. It's pretty awesome to see because she used to run with DRC a little bit as well.
she did. Yeah,
Yeah,
she
I
did.
ran with her. Something that you seem to love to do is be out and about. Even now, you're out taking pictures and of runners and things like that. Do you just love the atmosphere? What's the kind of draw to you still?
I do. I do. I love the atmosphere. I love capturing moments. And I'm telling you, it hasn't always been easy,
Yeah.
especially with the photographs, like you said. And I used to take slow mo video, and I did it so people could see their gait and to
Wow.
see their football and to see their
I don't
stride.
think I don't
That's
think
not
people want
how
to see
they
that.
took it. That's
Yeah.
not how they took it. They said, "Mark, you up there highlighting on my jiggly parts." Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
and then some of my friends have to explain me. I'm taking pictures and they say, "Oh no, Mark, he's okay." Because they'll be like, "What do you want to do with the pictures? What are you doing with the pictures?" Because not everyone would know me. They just see a random black guy out there
Yeah.
taking pictures with his phone. What's he up to? Lee fans? I don't know what they were thinking. And then once again, a lot of them, I would capture them because I'm not gonna put filters on your pictures or
Yeah.
beautify. It's gonna be point and click. However you look is how you look.
That's how you look.
And a lot of
Yeah.
them, if you're PRing, you're exerting more energy than you ever have before, you're going to be making an ugly face.
You're not gonna be looking good. Like I agree.
So now they complain to me, "Why you always taking ugly pictures of me?" I said, "That's how you look. You are leaving it all out there." I just put,
Yeah.
it took a lot of people years to finally
Yeah.
embrace that. And so what I like now is all these running groups. To me, I'm just capturing moments. Most of these running groups, they'll take before pictures, they'll take after pictures. I see all these groups consistently taking pictures of the people that showed up
Yeah.
because you
That's
can
right.
never tell what training session is going to be your last, when you're going to be done running, when you won't be able to run that distance again. So these will become memories.
Yeah.
And then some people have actually thanked me for the videos because now they can see their footballs or
Yeah.
overstriding or dragging their feet. But at first, it was just complaint on top of complaint before they realized that maybe there is a positive spin to this.
I don't
Yeah.
see you doing as many slow mos. I think every now and then I'll see one in there that you do of me, but
I've stopped.
oh,
I've stopped. I got tired of it. I'm like, you know what? It's okay.
how do you
For the most part, stop.
as much time as you take the pictures? But what's funny is I think this last what was it Saturday you went for a walk or whatever at 6 a.m. at the White Rock Lake. And then I saw you later at the Plano racing thing. And I was like, oh, you're at both places. You just seem to really enjoy it. But doesn't it take a lot of time to upload those photos and things like that? Tag
But
people?
see, I used to do that running too.
Yeah, I know.
I would meet one group at 5 or 4 or whatever, meet another group at 7 and do doubles. So
Yeah. Wow.
for me, taking pictures was easier
Yeah.
than doing a double running. Yeah, that's a piece of cake.
Yeah, man, you're still all over the place. Look, I appreciate it. I get some really great photos of you
You're
or
welcome.
from you just from this weekend. I was like, damn, that looks really good. I was telling Leah, I was like, that's a great picture of me and you together. I really like that one or whatever. And so if I don't like one, I'll just,
Don't tag yourself.
no, I don't ever untag myself. Like, I just don't do anything with it. A lot of times you'll tag me, you're right? And it's weird because Facebook sometimes doesn't let me see it. And I'm like, I don't know. He tagged me in something, but then 5 days later, I'll see the tag. I'm like, okay, why couldn't I see it when he actually did? Anyways, that's a Facebook thing. But it's just weird how it works. Facebook is changing its things all the time. But now you send them to me on Instagram, so I get them all the time. So
Problem solved.
problem solved. But no, man, did I miss anything? I'm sure I missed a ton of things and stories and things like that. Anything that you wish I would have asked or that you wanted to bring up that I missed?
Like most typical situations like this, I'll remember it after we stop talking. Something has come back to me. When you talked about, I never cared about time. That's not exactly true. See,
Okay.
I was once part of Luke Slocker's run team.
Yeah.
I was also part of the run on run team. But back there in Luke's locker, they had a certain criteria you had to meet. So you had to run a sub 20-minute 5K. You had to run a sub 40-minute 10K. And you had to run,
That's
I think,
tough.
a sub 130 half to be part of their run team. And at that time, I couldn't get under 20 in the 5K.
Yeah.
And I was concerned about time. I hit all those goals, by the way. I did the sub 20 5K, I did the sub 40 10K, and I did the sub 130 half. So those were the times I was concerned with running fast times. And then after a while, once again, I was looking at Luke's, and then Run On had a run team, but they didn't have that criteria for their run team. Their criteria was
Yeah.
different, like run up at a certain events or just promoting the brand, but not
Yeah.
having to be a fast runner per se. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to them now because I didn't like that time thing. That
It's a lot of pressure. Those are pretty hard times too. For under 40-minute 10K is not easy. And certainly under a 130 is somewhat doable, but it's really hard. But under 20 minutes, it's tough. Those are tough ones for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. You asked me about races and me, not races, but events. So there was one
Yeah.
time I was teaching the 7th grader. He was a soccer phenom, but he liked to run as well. You know?
Soccer
And,
players are the
and,
best runners, by the way, a lot of times.
and so we did a half, a DRC half. It was the hilly course that you ran through the neighborhood. So he's one of my students and he's out there. His mom ran a bit too. So he said, I'll just run with you, Mr. O. So we're doing this half, right?
Yeah.
And he's all of 13. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking he's gonna fizz out maybe mile 5, mile 6. No, all 3 of us ended up running a sub 130 that day. And
No.
this guy, he ran probably like a 127 or something like that at 13. And he was having fun the whole time, talking, ran backwards a little bit. I mean,
Jeez.
I'm like, what? That I remember. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome,
having one
man.
of my, that wasn't a former student. That's a current student. Having one of my students run a half with me and run it
Yeah.
that fast, that is a memory right there. Yeah.
That's a great memory. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You said his mom ran with you too? Because you said all
No,
three of
his
you ran?
mom ran. No,
Okay.
it was me, a friend of mine, Marius,
Okay.
and then him. His name was Ben. And then we're just running together. And Marius and I are talking because Marius said, who's this? I said, he's one of my students, blah, blah, blah. Marius and I up there joking as to what mile this 13-year-old is going to drop because there's no way he can finish it. And definitely not at our pace because
Yeah.
we're running sub 7, you know.
Yeah.
So there's no way he can keep this up. Mile 10 or 11, both Marius and I look at each other and I did this guy. He's the real deal.
Yeah.
We're the ones that are just trying to hold on. Yeah.
Did he beat y'all at the end or no?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
At least by 2 minutes. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. That's a great story.
And like it's like at mile 11, he got bored and said something like, "Okay, it was nice running with y'all." He just dropped the gear.
He's 13 years old, just kicking ass, taking
Yes.
names, leaving you guys in the
Yeah.
dust. I love it. It's been great, man. This has been really, I don't think you and I have had a conversation. We've had conversations, but not like this. I never knew all of this
That is
about
correct.
you
I
and
like
your
it.
journey. So I appreciate you coming on and talking to us about your story. I think a lot of people will enjoy this, you know, but
Yeah, I was reading the Pharrell story and looking at that earlier, and that was real interesting. The whole LSU connection and him losing all
yeah,
that weight and leaving corporate America now. Yeah, that was real fascinating.
yeah, just people love running so much that they'll quit their $120,000 job to do running stuff. I think that's awesome. Do what you love. Why not? And so good for him. Hopefully he'll be successful at sleep. Something I was going to say, Mark, is all these programs that, back in the day at Luke's and Run On and others have, some of that's, it's funny because it died down, but some of that's coming back. So you're starting to see Luke's have more things come on. And now we have literally 40 or 50 running groups in DFW. So it's more or more. It's insane. But I feel like running is just really starting to become extremely popular again. Like it used to be, it seems back in 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, or whatever. But then I want to say it died down. But now there's this huge kind of jump in it again. Maybe it's kind of after the COVID thing and whatever. I don't know. But it just seems like it's taken off. I don't know what you think about that, but it's
You're
pretty
right.
sick.
Oak Cliff Running Club, Run It
Yeah.
Up, WRC. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Hey, run it up. Jeez, dude. You see them on Instagram, they're partying and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, these guys are dancing. That's how they
All
But it's fun to watch. It's whatever it takes, I think, to get healthy and to stay healthy. And running does that for people. And I like that it's taken off. It's fun to watch. So I love it. Gets me excited. But Mark, it's been good. Thanks, man, for coming on. And this will be coming out in the next few weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. Please subscribe to our newsletter at dfwrunningtalk.substack.com. I'm Chris Detzel. And again, Marco, thanks, man, for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.
Of
Appreciate it.
course.